May 1st, 2018. All members present, Les McTaggart. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So be it.
Is there a second? Kevin? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Public comments? Roger? Hey.
Hi, Roger.
Hearing none. The agency reports, no one present, so we'll go on to the Iroquois County Public Health Department.
Good morning.
It is Schiffer.
Well, first of all, we'll let Terry talk to you. At the last meeting, I suggested that Terry come and talk about wells, and you all said that you would be very interested in learning more about the wells and the program that we have at the health department. So, Terry, take it away.
All right, absolutely.
As Dee's talked about in the past, there's 5 core functions of the health department. The one is communicable for, well, the main 5. Communicable disease, food, water, and sewage. I personally think water's at the top of that, because without water we can't function, we can't live, plants, everything. So,
Yeah, the 3 can't work. They all need water.
yeah. All right, so my job is to help protect the aquifer in Iroquois County with the private well section. If your staple packet is an actual completed well file, in that file you will find the application about halfway down. With the application, the contractor gives exactly what he's going to do on that person's property. Before he can start, he has to have permission to drill the well, and that comes from the local health department. It has where the well's going to be drilled, as well as a drawing of all potential hazards on that property. Now, what we look at is make sure that the minimum standards for the distances are made. So once that's the permission's approved, then the well driller can drill. We have to do a comprehensive inspection on each well driller at least once annually. Now, we do more than that. We go out and spot check on everybody, just like the sewage contractors as well as the food places. What we're looking for when we're out there is the minimum distances from potential hazards. If there's any abandoned wells that wasn't found by the well driller, that we're looking to find those and get those sealed also. In that packet, you'll see we take photos of every site, and as you can tell, it's a little messy out there on the well site. The reason for that is they're using water with the drill mud to keep the hole open, to get all the drill cuttings out, so it does make a mess. After the well is drilled, one of the critical things is to make sure that the pressure grouted. And that is, in a nutshell, it's a thicker form of the drilling mud. It's actual clay. When they pump that, after they set the well casing, and they have found, water, they'll put gravel pack down in the well, and then they'll pressure grout it. The pressure grout is a clay, and it comes out like the thickness of peanut butter. So that surrounds the outside. They drill a hole larger than the actual well casing, so they got to fill that void back up to keep out any contamination. And then you'll also see on this one, they sealed the old well. That would be this photo set here, where they take the pump and everything out of the well, and so they have to fill that hole up, and they use what's called hole plug, or the pressure grouts that shut also. So once that's all done, the well driller then fills out the well log and returns that to me, as well as if there's a well sealing form, he returns that to me. That becomes part of the record. I have to send the well log, the well sealing form, and the application down to water surveys, so that there's a permanent record with those guys also. Water survey's been in effect for way over 100 years, so the well drillers, if they're doing their job right, you can go on to their site and you see all the old well logs. They have it all on there. And, yeah.
How deep do you have to drill in Iroquois County?
It depends.
It
where
depends?
Depends where you're at. If I had to give you an estimated depth, I would say the average well is probably 180 feet.
180?
Would be probably the average. If you look on this single sheet that I passed out, find Iroquois County on there, you'll see that the majority of Iroquois County is from sand and gravel wells. Basically, you're going to draw a line from Ashcombe, and you follow 115 or 115?
That's 116.
116. If you follow that to 45, and then over to 52, like all the way to Sheldon, basically anything north of all that is typically limestone rock wells. They're a lot deeper. The sand and gravel will be shallower, and that's in the Mahomet. That's what Sika's on. Bales Lake, like Iroquois, is on the Mahomet. Those wells down there, like where you're at, are about 200 feet. The farther you go south, the deeper the Mahomet actually is.
It doesn't mean you can't get water.
Correct.
40 feet, but to get into like an aquifer. This is only 170.
I said the average, when you average out the deep ones from up north, so I would say about 180.
So I'm north of town, Dan, or north and west of here, so my first well was 80. That was there for probably ever, and then the second one's 160. So it's just
Good clean water at 80?
both sulfur.
Pardon?
Both sulfur, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you'll run into areas that there's sulfur.
Say like,
Most of them have iron in
It's
it.
not bad.
And I actually forgot, I didn't have enough hands and I forgot to go back and get it. I actually brought in 2 bottles of the gravel that they drill into. It's not like there's a big river down there. It just, like in this area, it's gravel. It's small pieces of gravel typically that the water is in, and that's what they draw it out of. The other photo,
Are you allowed to use sand ponds anymore?
you can take out a permit. It's not going to last long. You have to have a permit.
People use sand.
Yeah.
And what about shallow wells? Are they allowed?
You mean the jet well or the jet pump wells? You have to do some tweaking. You have to do some tweaking. That determines on the static level of the water. Okay, your static level of the water has to be up and holding greater than 30 feet. Anything deeper than that, then the deep well jets have a hard time pulling it back. Right?
What about if you just had for livestock only, is
You
that a
have to have
different
to drill it.
permit, but can you have a 40-foot well then with like a sand point to drive it, or no?
Probably won't give you enough water supply. You'd have to go, it depends on where you're at, how much water you're looking for. There's some areas in Iroquois County that if you get 5 gallons a minute, you're happy.
Right.
And then you go to other areas, like just west of town here, over by Crescent, Yeoman area, the 5-inch well like this, it'll free flow 75 gallons a minute or greater.
Crap.
Yeah. The well drillers really don't like working on them because they get wet. The other photo I brought you is an actual the pump being pulled out of the well. And there's different pieces of equipment. You have your well rig to drill the wells, and then you have a pump rig to pull the pumps out. And it just shows the different tools that they use. You can get one.
I passed mine on, I think.
Oh.
Oh, here it is, okay.
Okay.
I got it upstairs.
You don't want to drop the well, or the pump down in the well. It's very difficult to fish it back out. So like on the bottom left, that's the clamp that holds the pipe in place so it doesn't slip down the hole. The pump truck hoist pulls that all apart, and then they can get to the pump. So has anybody got any questions on that part? All right. I asked Lynn Reynolds, he's a well driller, to if I could borrow some parts. And he actually made me this. This is a miniature well. So, because I can't take you guys out in the field. Okay. You have your well string, then you got your PVC casing that has ASTM numbers. That's what we look at to make sure that they have the right ones. The pitless unit, if I took this apart, there's a weep hole in there. They have to have a weep hole to make sure that that's the approved pitless unit that goes 4 foot below grade. In here, there's that weep hole I mentioned. The reason that's there is so when they tighten this nut and everything, that they know they have a tight connection. When you kick the pressure on, if it wasn't tight, it's going to seep out of here. Up in here, there's a well vent. Okay. This PVC pipe goes to the pressure tank. Back in here, you really can't see it, but there's a pump down in here. You can put a pump in.
He probably has $1,000 worth
That's
of
$1,000
material.
just
Yeah,
sitting here.
and he did that for the health department. It's nice.
Now,
I
the
know Paul.
finished grade has to be at least 8 inches above ground. If you're in the flood zone, you have to have your well casing at least 2 foot above the flood height. Does anybody have any questions?
Looks good.
How far away from the old well do you have to drill the new one if you have to drill a well?
Typically, they seal the old well.
I understand that. How far?
You can drill, if it's not causing a harm, then you can, and you're going to keep the old well if it isn't up to code, you can drill it next to it if you wish. Most people get the old well sealed because the state law is that you have to abandon, if the well is no longer used, then you have to properly abandon it. Okay? Some people say they're going to keep them, and you go back on a loan survey 5-6 years down the road, the pipe's missing, so now they're having to have it sealed. So typically there's a reason why you drilled the new one is because the old one was inadequate or it was in bad shape.
Or it's a smaller well, because that 2 inch
Yeah.
well.
So some of the livestock places, they'll keep one as a backup, you know, because
But there's no requirement on how far away it has to be from the old well.
there is and there isn't. It depends on the condition of it. Okay, it can be up to 200 feet. But if it's kicking out bad water, then yeah, you got to be 200 foot, even if you wanted to keep it. If it's not kicking out bad water, then you can have it closer.
Yeah, a question. Because it's not common or so common yet in Iroquois County, but take for instance in the Claytonville area where those wells flowed freely for years and years and years, and then they started putting irrigation down that neck of the woods, and then the water table dropped feet. What's Iroquois County have in place to balance that in case somebody would just decide to monopolize half the county?
Well, actually, it's a good point. Iroquois County, back in the year of the drought, Illinois legislation passed a law. It's on, and it actually names Iroquois County. There's 2 laws that reflect to the water supply. There's European, and I believe the other one's called American. Okay. One of them, you can buy water rights. The other, the water, I'll use Watseka for example. If Watseka drills enough wells and they dry up, let's say, under that Illinois law, Watseka would have to pay for supplying water to Oppieville. We're in that law. You go to different parts of the state, it doesn't matter if Watseka would dry up Oppieville. So we're fortunate on that, but that they have to prove then that, you know, you dried up my water supply. That can be lengthy in court and everything, but it is doable because we had that drought. Is the reason they put it in the law.
And I just know from experience, at the shop, we make wheels for irrigation pivots. And that company's based out of Nebraska, and that's over a huge aquifer out there. And they've since shut it off. You can't punch any new holes in there.
That's because Nebraska's water is, what they have is what they're ever going to have.
So that's it.
That's it. What's there, so they're not allowing the irrigators to come in.
So if you buy
Nebraska,
if you buy a field there, it's got to have an existing working pivot, or you don't get another one.
if you remember when we changed our water code for that area over by the Milford, I based everything off of the Nebraska study. Okay, if you go online and Google for the YouTube videos, you can see there's Nebraska's study on water. They actually use clear PVC casing. Remember I talked about the pressure grouting? Okay, they're trying to preserve their water supply as much as possible. So they did all different studies on how to protect that annual opening. And, you know, with their
Why do they use clear? So they stick a camera down there or something?
They ran cameras. They did all different measurements, and in most of the cases, the camera was being outran by the green dye water.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go back to our ordinance, it talked about the last 20 foot of casing had to be steel cased. That pressure grout that I talked about, if it dries out, it'll form just a little micro spacing between the casing and the grout. So then water can trickle down through that all the way to the aquifer. So the steel casing is rough enough that that grout adheres to it.
Which is exactly why we brought to you guys a year ago that ordinance and asked you to approve that ordinance. We got the Board of Health approval, and then we brought it to you here at Health Committee to approve. You recommended it, it went to full board, that got approved. So that areas of contamination in Iroquois County where we know that there's some sort of contamination, that those areas have to have the 20 feet of steel casing. That's why we brought that. So that
So as that
you're
groundwater,
protecting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as that groundwater goes from this way over and hits that casing, it's going to adhere more. But like you talked about the aquifer being dropped, we're on the Mahomet. Okay, there's been studies, there's a study going on right now on how much water is actually in the Mahomet and how many more things can be drawing upon that. You know, the Mahomet goes all the way from here, all the way over the Mississippi. And it's not just the irrigators here, it's the irrigators over at, you know, the Mississippi area. When they start, you know, pumping those wells, they all draw
We're
down.
not really in the flowage though. Aren't we off on a finger or something here?
There's like 2 fingers of the Mahomet, because then you get the flowing wells. You know, you go over by Gelman where I talked about 75 foot, and, you know, free flow, or static level 17, 18 foot above grade. You know, this thing sticks that tall up unless they have it just naturally flowing. They're allowed to have them flow, but they have to put a gate valve on it. So if this was above the ground, they can put a valve on it, and if it stops flowing, they have to shut the valve off. I mean, the pressure is so great over there on one just like this.
It'll flow full, won't it?
I know one person's grandson was out there when the well was first drilled, and he shut the valve off. Not too long after it, blew the cap off. That's a lot of pressure.
Wow, can you imagine?
Just think of what those settlers thought when they found water.
Yeah.
They had to drink out of the creek.
Well, most of the first water wells around here were just the small, shallow duck wells. You know, a few of them. Last year, sealed one up over by Milford. They're kind of neat where somebody hand dug this thing, you know, all the way down to pick up the groundwater. Now you go over by Douglas County, Livingston, they have a lot of dug wells. We have one that I'm aware of. And the dug well, they just, well, there's more in Ford County that they did, but I believe there's only one here. There's not a lot of water down in the area. They'll put in larger tile. They're about 20-inch tile. It takes a different machine. The bore down, they put these clay or cement tiles in place basically, and then over minimum depth would be 10 foot. They have a slab, and then the top of it looks like this. They have to bury that slab 10 feet below grade to help protect the groundwater.
See, I'm learning stuff too.
The bored wells like that, larger diameter, the water doesn't come in as fast, so it acts as a reservoir in that whole column. In this well, for every foot on a 5-inch well, there's 1 gallon of water. Smaller diameters, less, of course. Yes?
Have you ever stopped that little flowing well between Crescent and Gilman?
Yeah, I'll test it ever so often.
On the south side of the road, you ever stopped there and tried to taste that water?
It's got a lot of iron in it.
It's got real heavy with
Safe.
iron. But it will,
Is it safe?
Yeah.
you
Flowing wells,
could-
I haven't seen a flowing well ever come back bad.
Because the
it
Because
doesn't
it's moving out.
quench your taste.
You know, the water doesn't stay stagnant enough to grow bacteria, so.
The
You're
nu-
ruining your clothes.
It's cold.
the number
Cold.
one cause that is abandoned wells. You know, everybody talks about landfills, you know, and everything like that. The way they're built, and especially the new ones with all the liners and everything, they're made really, really safe. But it's the abandoned wells out there that we run across daily that need to be sealed.
Yeah. And what should we do?
The other day,
You know,
you know, we're still having bad water come back because of the flood. I went to a house the other day because these people were having some trouble. Guess what I found in a well pit? An old well. Got it sealed up.
That was open.
Others right now in the flood, they're raising their casing to get it out of the flood so they don't have to deal with it, you know, in the future.
So you recommend once in a while pouring bleach in the well, or
I
not?
recommend at least once a year you take a water sample.
We're still doing free water samples. We're gonna continue to do those until they come back better. I told Terry, you know, he's the expert on this. Give me the sign when we can go back to normal and charge the $15 fee. But until you get enough that you're satisfied that the well supply is safe in Iroquois County, we're gonna continue to do free.
Where do you recommend that sample get taken at? Down at your pressure tank?
You're supposed to take it at a non-swivel faucet. Most people don't have a non-swivel faucet. The best thing is the closest faucet to the wellhead itself. A non-swivel is what you're looking for. Outside farm spigot, outside spigot on the house. Those, I get good results back. Just take rubbing alcohol and clean it off really well, or use a light, match to sanitize it. That kills off it, that helps reduce the false positives, and then you carefully fill the bottle up. Right now, last year, we were running 25% unsatisfactory results for a whole year. This year, from January through April 25th, we're at 37%. That's basically with the flood.
Yeah.
So, just like the Bob's office down there for the building permits for the people that were with the flood, we're not charging to raise the casing up for that. Because the more wells that we can get out of the flood water, one well over on Joe's property goes under, that puts that flood water down, and then it can be sucked up in the next one.
Okay, I got another question. That's all sealed up, everything is all sealed, how's flood water get in it?
It's a
There's a
vent.
vent. If you look,
That's why.
if you look right here, there's a vent.
Yes, I've got it.
Okay, and another thing, where even if your well isn't affected by the flood, but you want to inspect your well at least yearly. This piece of pipe that goes for the conduit, they get broke all the time, okay?
Mower hits.
The mower hits it, weed whacker wears on it, whatever. Okay, the best one I've seen where I did a loan survey, and I always make sure the well tops on there secure. I went and did this, and the whole top of the well came off, all the way down below ground. When I talked to the owner, he found out the next day when they had the well fixed, that his son ran over it with a golf cart and put it back in place a year ago. It took him a while to get a good sample out of it. But anyway, when these things break, or this isn't secured, those earwicks, ants, mice, rats, anything can go down in this.
Yeah.
And then that'll make the water unsatisfactory.
Make it taste.
A little extra flavor.
Shallow well, I don't even have a deep well.
They're all this, I mean,
And Lynn, I've had Lynn out every year to check that seal out there, make damn sure that thing's sealed, and then we check the water, just to make dang sure.
Yeah. and you can take this
My
sample,
all is ground.
this that everybody buys in the stores,
Can you ever take a sample of that?
these aren't a sample as much as what you can. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
But everybody relies on this.
So the residents of the county can come into the health department Monday through Friday and get a free water well sample kit. We ask that they bring them back to us the same day that they collect the sample, and do it on a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday before noon, and then we can get it shipped out.
Is everybody here gonna test? You got city water, Jed? I got a well. Kelly, you got a well?
If you want to test, we'll go get you some.
I've had mine tested.
You definitely
I
will.
need one again.
I'd give you this one, but this was for non-community supply.
What's not community?
Non-community is where, okay, like yours is a private well.
Yep.
Then you have semi-private. So let's say the well was on your property and it served
3 houses.
6 houses. That's a semi-private. Okay, then you have the non-community, which is one that serves the public. For example, it's the old loft. I'll use that one for example, where a restaurant has its own private well. They call it a non-community supply. It serves at least 25 people a year, 60 days out of the year. So like the fairgrounds, we do that. What is it, about 21 of them? About 21 non-community supplies. And the non-communities also have in there the RO machines.
Did they ever get Gilman's water supply rectified with the lead content?
I'm not sure because that's EPA water supply. So like we said, we don't have jurisdiction over that.
You claim to run it for several minutes before you even taste, you know. Okay.
You can have lead in a private, in a private home. I used to drink it when I was a little bit. There's a lot more chemicals out there now.
A lot different now than when we were kids,
That's what's
Kevin.
wrong with me, Barry. I'm pretty sure of it. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
No
Okay,
problem.
any other water questions for Mr. Iron?
Okay, so I told Troy that we'd be done at 10 o'clock, and I intend to be. So I'm just going to pass out the normal reports to you, look them over. You've seen them 100 times. You know what's on there. The grants and contracts list is complete. We have contract numbers, so everything's finalized. In 2 months, we start the new fiscal year, so get started all over. Our program summary report, there's really not anything in there to point out. If you have questions, ask me. The typical one that somebody looks at that's going to look at and see that, like I said last time, the hepatitis C cases, we already have more this year than we do last year. I truly believe that that is because more physicians are having people tested, not because there are more cases out there. The cases that we're seeing are not linked. There's no epi link that we can find. So it's not like these are people who have, had exposure with someone else.
More and more TV commercials addressing that.
Yes,
And I'm sure the awareness is up and,
yes. So more people are being tested. We have a salmonella case that's still being investigated. We hope that we don't have any linkage to that. We're crossing our fingers right now. But the girls did a great job doing education, control measures, mitigation, and working with them so that we're preventing the spread. Any questions? So,
Always wanted to ask all my questions.
The only thing up is the well, or the wells. That's the only one that's up. Everything else is flat.
which, when you look at the
Yeah, rabies.
communicable disease stuff, we like that
You had
choice.
rabies on there though.
Yeah, that bat that Dr. Yusuf told you about today. Yeah, that investigation.
Awesome.
There's one thing I'd like to add. Do you pass these things out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you look, item 45 is up. The reason that is because we're having to enforce, I'll just throw these in the state kind of changed what they're doing, guys. In the past,
Remember, this is your foods. This is your restaurant
this
inspection.
top one here, that's what the state used to require for like Mark to have. This is a state certificate. To get that state certificate, she had to pass a test and then pay for money. Well, the state cut that out, so they're losing funds. Okay, now they're requiring these people to find their ANSI approved certificates, and this is what we have to go by. So the state certificates are no longer good, and we're having to write people up to get their ANSI permits. So they're searching through the records for their there's two ANSI ones that are approved out there.
Never heard of it.
You will next time you get inspected.
I'm sure.
So look for your certificate that you passed the test.
It's called ANSI.
ANSI, yeah. But that's why that number is up. It's not that the people didn't go through the class, they just don't have the proper paperwork anymore that we need to see.
But they
How
have
do we get it?
If you don't have your original certificate, you're going to have to contact whoever you had with your class, and for a fee, then you'll get a copy of your right certificate.
Just more stuff. Yeah.
Typical paperwork.
So that's why you see that big red line spike.
And it'll stay that way for a while, and then all of a sudden you'll see, like when everybody gets their certificates, then that violation won't be there anymore.
Yeah, that'll drop off.
And one of these days we'll be bringing you the new food ordinance. We're still really not, it's kind of out in limbo, but
Maybe when that's done, we'll have another show and tell.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
do that. So what do you want to hear about next month? What program that you're, look at our programs list and pick one that you'd like to hear about on this one, on this. Just look, see all those lists of things. Pick a program that you'd want more information on. Or if you want to hear about a specific disease, or how we do an investigation for that specific disease.
So all the top ones are Terry's, right?
Yeah.
All the
We
way-
have the programs divided into our divisions. So we have an environmental health division, which Terry's our director of environmental health. So he does all those programs there on the first and the whole first page. Then we have a community health division, and you'll see all the things that and Vonda Pruitt's our Director of Nursing and Social Services for those programs. And then we have our Senior Service Division, and Luann Armitrout is our Senior Supervisor, and she is, remember, retiring at the end of June, beginning of July.
I mean, my suggestion would be we do, like 1 week, one month we could do maybe the school stuff, another week jail stuff, and then maybe seniors another month.
Sure.
Not week.
Yeah.
Or if any of those can be combined, I don't know.
Yeah. Jail program.
Seniors should probably be on their own, correct? We've done that
Yeah.
before.
We've done that, but we certainly can't do that again. I do want to mention to you guys that yesterday was the last day of employment for Nancy Reed, who has been with the health department for many, many years through, Fort Iroquois and now Iroquois County. A tremendous asset to the citizens of this county. She fought for a lot of protective rights in abuse cases and changed a lot of lives and took care of a lot of people through an unbelievable amount of years. And she retired, so yesterday was her last day. She'll be greatly missed by our staff. It's hard to see somebody that you worked with for that many years go on, but I'm happy for her. She'll get to spend more time with her family and doing the things she loves to do every day. So I'm very happy for her, but we wish her well and thank her for her many, many years of service to the citizens of the county. She has done good things for our seniors. Kept a lot of seniors from being placed in long-term care facilities, kept them at home, made arrangements, and got things worked out so that they could stay at home. That's a tremendous service to people.
So has someone replaced her?
Yeah, well, we replaced them. Remember, we talked about that. We have both of our senior service staff. We only had two, Nancy and Lou, left. They're both retiring. Nancy retired yesterday. Lou Ann's retiring at the end of June, beginning of July. I think her actual date is July 6th. So in October, we hired Danielle Walls, and then a few months ago, we hired Melissa Lloyd, and they're now training. Now, just so that you guys know what's going on with that, we're going to have to do a little flip-flopping, because you have to stay, in order to take your training in order, you have to check, the state makes you take your training in order. It takes a minimum of 6 months to complete your training to be an APS worker. You have to go through your regular training, so you have phase 1 training, and phase 2 training, and then a supervisor training. Okay, that process takes a minimum of 6 months. So we hired Danielle. Danielle will, once Luann leaves, Danielle will become the supervisor until Melissa Lloyd finishes her training. Then she will become our Director of Senior Services, and they'll switch roles. But we had to do it that way in order to stay covered and to meet the grant deliverables and the grant requirements for training. Remember that these programs are self-sufficient. They don't really, if you really look at these programs and you divide our program numbers out and look at the RNEs, these programs are self-sustaining. So they're not programs that cost the taxpayers a lot of money. So they're very valuable, but there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through because those are Illinois Department on Aging grants. So
Well, let's do that for next month.
Right?
If somebody would ask a health committee member, where does my tax money go as far as services provided to the public? Is there
A breakdown?
medical category? Let's just do it on medical categories provided to the public.
Okay, I can do that for you, but that's like a 2-minute deal. Because I can tell you right now where your tax dollars go.
No, I mean, what are the services and how do they happen and how does the process begin and who qualifies? I mean, go through it. So, I don't understand.
For each program or for, are you looking for an overview or do you want to talk specific programs? What do you want, Troy?
Well, it would be, communicable diseases, pregnancy tests, all the stuff that's provided to people that maybe can't afford it. I don't know how to explain that.
Okay.
services that are offered that we pay for.
You got it. I better write that down, I'll forget.
You serve it up. Services offered. That way, if anybody on this committee gets asked, what's being paid for, or where's the money go, they have a good educated answer.
Services offered that tax levy covers.
Yep.
Got it. Be happy to do that for you. That's a good thing, because the public should know that.
That's right.
Everybody should know that.
Is there any old business to come before the committee? Any new business to come before the committee? Other than we're going to add that to the agenda for next month. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Barb. All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.